What AFC North stud is about to make some noise, and what former NFC South stud might be coming back to help your fantasy teams in Week 12. Plus, we've got the former six-time FFPC League champions and owners of three FFPC Big Gorilla Top 100 teams, Tom and Alan Dee, coming in tonight. We've got a great show for you on the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour. My name is Eric Balkman. Ferrell Elliott is here. Stick around. We've got a great show for you. Your HSFF Hour starts right now.
Can't stand the pressure. I've seen greater men than need a lesson.
Broadcast live and heard around the world, you are now watching the most entertaining hour of radio on the planet. Welcome to the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by myffpc.com with your hosts Eric Balkman and Ferrell Elliott. The High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour is your home for analysis from the best players in the world. And now, because no one else was available, here are Eric Balkman and Ferrell Elliott.
Solace in the scripture. Are we not all our father's sons? I became a man. Nobody ever told me what a man was.
Thank you, Rob. Greetings and salutations to all of you Balkaholics and Ferrelliacs. Welcome to the latest episode of the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour, presented by the Fantasy Football Players Championship over at myffpc.com. I am your slightly above average host, Eric Balkman. My co-host is the definitive commissioner of fantasy football, Ferrell Elliott. Connect with me on the X at Eric Balkman, EricBalkman. You know me from the RotoViz High Stakes Lowdown, as well as the FFPC Insider Access Show on the Better Sports Network and the FFPC. Coming up on tonight's show, we've got a bevy of great stuff to get to you tonight. A lot of stuff that's going to help you out in Week 12. Including but not limited to the issue with the Packers backfield. We're going to get into the Giants backfield and what we saw last week against Green Bay, and then some tight end help if you are looking for starting a second tight end like Noah Fant, like Mason Taylor in your FFPC Big Gorilla or Main Event leagues as you try to get to the playoffs. We'll have that for you in spades tonight. If you want to connect with us on X, you can do so at HSFF Hour, at HSFF Hour, at Eric Balkman. Check out Ferrell's Kentucky Fantasy Football State Championship at KFFSC.com. That website, once again, KFFSC.com. Post on our Facebook page at Facebook.com/HSFF Hour. You can also email the show at highstakesfantasyfootball@gmail.com. If you have any questions for us, send them in now. It is the time to send them in. We'll try to get to all the chat room questions, all your emails, all your X posts. Coming up in our fantasy feedback segment later on in the show, thanks to our audio engineer, my best friend Bryce, and of course, our producer and mutual friend Rob. Without further ado, I want to bring on my good buddy, Ferrell Elliott tonight, ladies and gentlemen, the definitive commissioner of fantasy football. Welcome aboard, Mr. Ferrell Elliott. So good to have you here on our final show prior to Thanksgiving 2025, man. How are you?
Well, a happy Thanksgiving to you, Balky. I'm doing wonderful. I'm glad that I am not on special assignment anywhere and that I am here with you.
I would say I am thrilled for that, which I am, but the viewers, the listeners, everybody else is much more excited for that to have you on the air tonight. I think this is a good time to ask you, how are your fantasy teams looking here as we enter the back half of November? Are they in good shape, decent shape, horrible shape? What are we looking at here for Ferrell's teams?
In FFPC action, one of my two main events is currently playoff eligible, and we're going to try to hang on through week 12. We've got two of maybe six teams in the Gorilla that are advancing. One of them, a number 2 seed, which has outscored everyone in the competitors in my group. We don't call them divisions. I guess we call them leagues in the FFPC.
Yeah.
In my league, I've outscored most everyone by about 150 points. So I would like to see that team continue to do well. And it's so many excellent teams and excellent players forthcoming to compete against. You feel fortunate if you're doing well. My dynasty teams have met a plateau. Some are eligible to move into the playoffs with a proper seed. but they really shouldn't be. They're kind of sneaking in there. So I'm already planning for a 2026 draft. Balky, there's some 2026 drafting that you're planning on as well.
So I'm going to get to that in a second. I'm gonna bust this out right now. One of my KFFSC dynasty teams, Ferrell. It's the defending champ, and I can't remember which league it was, but one of the KFFSC dynasty leagues that I'm in won the whole thing last year, thanks in part by drafting Malik Neighbors at the 102 in the rookie draft last year, and then getting Brian Thomas at the 108. Things did not go according to plan in 2025 based on the injuries to both Neighbors and Brian Thomas. Did not even make the playoffs in that league this year, which honestly, you have 6 teams make the playoffs out of 12, and I couldn't even get into the playoffs. It tells you exactly how fast your fortunes can change in dynasty, whether it's KFFSC or FFPC. So now I'm focused on, just trying to get better for 2026 and then maybe winning the whole thing in 2026. We'll see what happens in regards to that. But I get it, man. Like I in regards to dynasty stuff, it's there and then it's not, and then it's there again, so that's the way I look at it, for sure. We have James Hicks wanting to say hello to both you and me and one other, our unofficial co-host of the show, Mr. Oinker. We got Senior Oinker on there as well. Is that what we're calling him? I can't remember what you said. Senior. I
just did. Perhaps he's senior, but he's got a nice pair of shades. He's got a little bit of gray hair going on. I'm not so sure that he is senior, your Oinker, but
this guy my Oinker looks younger than yours. You're
it's okay. I'll go with that. I'll go.
All right. Well, I don't want to speak out of turn here. Tom Smith.
Your aviator shades.
The aviator shades are pretty tight.
White Hollers fan is what he is.
Tom Smith on YouTube tonight. One of my 2 main event teams at FFPC needs to win this week, and he faces one Chad Schroeder from Cocktails and Dreams. How lucky of me, LOL. Yeah, it's not lucky at all. And we'll see what happens and Tom, we're wishing you the best, in going up against Chad Schroeder. It doesn't always happen that way, but hopefully it will work out for you.
Tom, if you want to be the best, you have to beat the best. So be happy.
There's a Ric Flair meme I should probably be playing tonight. To be the man, you got to beat the man.
I've heard something about that.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Ferrell, we're burying the lead here. I want to get to Cincinnati. Zach Taylor, the head coach of the Cincinnati Bengals, said the team is going to take some additional time to see if Joe Burrow is going to start in week 12 against the New England Patriots. That's this weekend, and that's according to Adam Schefter from ESPN.com. Every practice this week, Joe Burrow participated in. In fact, he took first-team reps with the offense on Thursday as well. He was already, we kind of assumed he was going to be back on Thanksgiving night against Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens. And now all of a sudden it's looking like he is going to be active for week 12 against the New England Patriots. We'll find out more at 4 p.m. Eastern time on Saturday. The fact that he is listed as questionable as opposed to doubtful or out is good for those people who still have rostered Joe Burrow. Certainly with the game coming up on Thursday, maybe they err on the side of caution and they're like, well, we're not going to play him this week, but we'll for sure have him on Thursday night. The way I'm going to ask you this question is this. If Joe Burrow is activated by 4 p.m. on Saturday, and he is playing against New England, sans Jamar Chase, but still having access to T. Higgins, the newly activated, and we'll see if they activate him for the game, Mike Gesicki, and then Chase Brown as well. Ferrell, are you bold enough to say, yes, I have Joe Burrow, and I'm going to be playing him against the number 1 seed or number 2 seed. I don't know what they are in the AFC right now. New England Patriots. Are you bold enough to say that if Joe Burrow is active, you're playing him? Simple as that?
Sure, I'm going to run him out there, but there's a lot of quarterbacks that I like the matchups of this weekend, and I'd play them over him, but I probably wouldn't have rostered those quarterbacks with my Burrow team, but I might have got in the waiver wire and picked up one of the better quarterbacks that's having a late season surge. So I'm not – it all depends But if I have a quarterback I think can get me 21 or 22, that's what I'll go with. If I don't, then Burrow is my man, and I won't have a problem. And I definitely won't have a problem playing all the other Bengal players along with him.
I think that the other thing I'll bring up here, and Ferrell, I don't know how you feel about this, but I've been hearing a lot of people talk about the Jamar Chase suspension and how the suspension of him was, well, let me dial it back. The Patriots are really good at stopping the run. And so you would think that Cincinnati is going to be pass happy. Then Chase gets suspended for spitting on Jalen Ramsey, which in 9 times out of 10 is good things for T. Higgins. Now, what the Patriots can do is they can stick Christian Gonzalez on T. Higgins. So I don't even know the fact that Higgins is going to be the number 1 receiver. I don't even know if that's a good thing at this point.
This coaching staff was hired for its offensive credentials. They'll have a real big chance to prove them in this game. And we're seeing what we saw last night with Buffalo is the poor protection and the lack of depth at the offensive line positions throughout the league. It's a problem everywhere. Whether you've got a mobile quarterback or not, you've got a situation with the way these offensive lines are playing. If they've lost 1 or 2 guys to injury, it's a big problem. Burrow takes a long time to get rid of the ball, plus he may be hurting. You know, the team needs a lift. It needs some emotional lift. There's a commentary about the season. They're done for the year. I think they're already done for the year. But you know, they're professionals. They're playing the games that are in front of them and on the schedule. I like what you're talking about with Higgins. Higgins finds a way to get open. There's other players on that roster that could break loose. Double tight end sets. You wanted to talk about some double tight end sets. There's a desperation ploy with the Cincinnati Bengal tight ends if you want. So yeah, there's some elements of utility for fantasy football in this game, Balky. But I think if you're having to depend on Burrow coming in for your lineup at this late in the season, you're not necessarily in the best of shape anyway.
No, you're probably not. But in the case that you are, I feel like you're, and I don't know, Ferrell, maybe it goes back down to what you're saying. You know, the fact that you may not have a better option at quarterback at this point of the season. And if Burrow is active, even though it's not the greatest idea in the world to play a guy who is coming off this long of a layover and just immediately throwing him back into the lineup without his number 1 wide receiver and against a better, you know, one of the better defenses in the NFL. I get it. As Matt Damon said in those failed crypto ads a couple of years ago, fortune favors the bold. And what happened with crypto for him?
I did not think I was in the bold last week when I played Justin Herbert, but his 5.5 score suggests that I did. You know, any quarterback can have that kind of stinker game. So yeah, you might. I don't expect Burrow's going to go out here and lay an egg. Can he complete the game physically? That's another thought.
You know, there's a lot of thoughts coming in on the chat room right now. Michael Kinzel, the fantasy meatball Bengals are in must-win mode. Need to start your franchise quarterback because if they go 3-8, they're done for the year. Tom Smith, Bengals are toast. They have no chance. Tom also chiming in, the Bengals offensive line not very good. So putting Burrow in could risk him for another injury. And I do think, you know, I was listening to the Fantasy Empire guys over on the Player Profiler Plus Fantasy Football Podcast Network. You have Chris Vaccaro, Dan Williamson, Nelson Sousa, and of course Matt Modica on that. And they were talking about this. And there was a definite separation of thoughts on this. There were some people thinking that, you know, they'd be foolish to bring Burrow back when they have basically no chance of making the playoffs. And then there was other people saying, like, you know, Vaccaro was saying this too, like he busted his tail trying to get active, right? And he's trying to do whatever he can to get back on the field in 2025 and show what he can do. And honestly, if you have a healthy Chase in week 13, as well as T. Higgins, and now essentially a healthy Mike Gesicki, Chase Brown or whatever, Bengals could do numbers. It's going to be hard to keep Burrow off the field. Ferrell, do you think if the Bengals are able to activate Burrow and he is ready to go, do you think that they will given their current situation in the AFC playoffs?
Yes. So you're asking, can they rally and get in the playoffs?
Yes.
Yes. I suppose if it's numerically.
So they let Burrow play. They put everything at risk.
Yeah. Well, players are wired to play.
Yes.
One of our listeners here says, "What's the lack of professionalism in football?" Think of it this way, guys. This is a man that Burrow wants to get back on the field as a form of professionalism. Balky's right. He has worked his tail off to get healthy. Sometimes it's keeping your body functioning when you have such an aggravated injury. And it sounds like a small thing, but it's not, especially the quarterback position. We probably have gone a little further on this point than we would intend to, but Burrow has probably wanted to play for the last couple of weeks. All players want to get out on the field. This is not Cincinnati is doing this in concert with him. It's not so much a coach's decision as it is a mutual decision. He feels he's ready to go, and I'd rather bet on Joe Burrow than a lot of quarterbacks.
I would too.
Yeah,
and I think that's smart. So whether he's active this week or not, I think we can feel fairly confident that he will be out there against the Ravens Thursday.
And shame on you if you put him on waivers.
Exactly, which I did in one of my leagues. All right, moving forward here, Ferrell. We have Alan and Tommy Dee coming up here to talk about their top three top 100 teams in the FFPC Big Gorilla Tournament. Before we get to them, I do want to talk to you about the Cardinals rushing game here briefly. Okay. Bam Knight, no longer on the injury report. However, Trey Benson and Amari DeMarcado, not only are they on the injury report, they have both been ruled out. Michael Carter probably will rotate behind Bam Knight, knowing that we do not see Benson, knowing that we do not see DeMarcado this week. I'm curious to what you would do with both Bam Knight and Michael Carter, knowing that the Falcons' rush defense is no bueno, and they can be had as far as opposing running backs go. And now you have Knight and Carter looking to take advantage of that. If you have Knight, if you have Carter, what are you doing with them in leagues this week in week 12, my friend?
Knight will get the red zone goal line and most of the carries. Carter is a near and dear player to me. I'm familiar with his family, and I've always wished him well. He's battled injuries himself in his career. He could be the good passing ball catcher. I don't think, Gainwell's game from last weekend, that's what you hope for, is that one-off magical lightning strike where a player out of the backfield could catch 7-8 passes and a touchdown or two. Likely not to happen in this game. Go with Bam Knight. I like the way he's running the ball. He's earning that nickname. Go ahead and go with it.
I am with Ferrell on this. I think Bam Knight is not a guy I want to start as like a top 25 back this week. However, if you are dealing with some bye week issues, I think Bam Knight makes a nice flex, and I am definitely staying away from Michael Carter in all my lineups this week. It is Bam Knight or bust, which apparently is the way the Cardinals are playing it as well. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to bring in our guests tonight. They have 6 high-stakes fantasy football titles to their name in the FFPC. And currently, as it stands, going into Sunday of Week 12, they have not 1, not 2, but 3 top 100 teams in the FFPC Big Gorilla. Again, a contest that will pay out a $1 million grand prize. Please welcome aboard on the show tonight, making their debuts in the high stakes fantasy footballer. It is Tom and Alan Dee, the brothers.
Look at these cats.
Pride of Illinois, joining us tonight. Gentlemen, good evening.
What's happening, guys? Thanks for
having me. The contest is which one's more handsome. Now, the one position under me has better lighting. That gives him an edge coming out of the box. But this guy on the left here has a massive smile, and he's positioning himself in the camera. They got a lot of good things going on here, man.
Got to go for it, right?
So, Tommy, which one of you guys is older between you and Alan?
Why don't you guess, Eric? Why don't you guess?
I'm going to guess Alan is older. Am I wrong?
Well, hell
correct.
yes.
Well, you phrased it wrong. Alan is wiser. For
Alan-
now.
yeah.
For now.
So now you guys do you both live in Illinois?
Nope.
Tom, you start.
We grew up in Illinois, but I still am out here in Illinois. Alan, where are you at? Alan?
I'm in LA. So
LA. Oh my goodness.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
yeah. So I'm a
Alan,
commercial banker in Los Angeles. Yeah.
okay, so this leads me into my first question here, and we'll get to plenty more here tonight. What was it work that took you out to LA, and what form of work are you doing in Southern California right now?
Correct. So I'm a commercial banker. Banking was what back in 2009, with all the crisis and everything that happened there was an opportunity for me to advance my career pretty quickly. So I took it by moving to California to try to, advance my career. And it's worked out ever since. So yeah, I live in Los
Exactly what
Angeles.
Uncle Jed did.
Yeah, that's true. Yes, exactly. Yes. I wouldn't say the Illinois hillbillies, but the Illinois I don't know what you call it, like the Illinois opportunity recognizers, something like that.
The Illini left the Midwest.
But yes, exactly. But Tom, your opportunity stayed in Illinois. What are you doing for a living right now?
I'm in sales. I work for a company called ID Label. I sell anything label wise in warehouses, when they do inventory, anything on the pallets or the totems. And so if anyone's out there, you need some labels in your warehouses, give me a little ring too,
All right.
That's exactly what you would expect a spy for the British government to say.
Now hold on. Now
Well,
I listen. There's plenty of fantasy stuff I want to get to tonight, but there's so much I want to get to before that. Now, Tom, I don't know if you're making a statement tonight, but with the Spider-Man t-shirt, the Spider-Man meme t-shirt that you're wearing tonight, I have to know, is this by design? Is this a commentary on you and Alan? Is this a commentary on fantasy football? The Spider-Man meme, for those of you under the age of 40, is something that has been shown up on social media over the years, where it is the two Spider-Mans pointing at each other, as in they are looking at the exact same thing. What is the commentary? Or is it just a case of like, hey, this was clean, I'm going on the show for this? I don't know if there's a secondary meaning into this tonight, Tom.
You are. This is why you're the best in the biz, because you got your attention to detail. But there's definitely a different meaning to it. Not only is it a dope shirt, but my brother got me this shirt for my birthday. So my birthday's on September 2nd. So after the whole draft season, we get together and we watch the first weekend of football together each. So that's a tradition. But so we have a phrase that me and my brother use when we're drafting. It's called the Spider-Man meme. And we notice that certain players like to draft the same type of players. For example, the most common is the boom bust receiver. Like, I know he's not boom bust this year, but like George Pickens and DK Metcalf kind of have the same. So we were like, hey, they're the Spider-Man meme. They're all kind of looking at each other like, and then you'll see that player will add Matthew Gold into the mix. And like, we kind of laugh because like, you'll see the opposite too, where people will Spider-Man all the PPR scamming receivers. So you'll get Jacoby Myers, you'll get Khalil Shakur, and there's never like a mix.
Wandale Robinson, right?
Yeah, it's like it's all the Spider-Man meme going on. So we chuckle around because what we want to do is like have a mixture of both on our teams. We don't want to be too much in the PPR scam and not have any pop to our teams. So something that we're paying. So as we like to use that phrase of the Spider-Man meme inside fantasy, and it's just kind of funny when you see that. So
it is. You're speaking in code. You're speaking your own language. And Spider-Man, like all superheroes, you can count on to show up. Try to sell me that on Khalil Shakir. But who's going to show up? And I ask this I love you guys go back to talk about drafting. You do it together, and you love it, and managing the teams together. My question is a management question, but when I go back to drafting, with my modest effort in the FFPC, I look at the Cleveland Browns, and I don't really get. I stayed away completely from the whole operation. My Cleveland Browns source of information comes from a dear friend of mine named John Anderson, who is ready to love them and choke them all at the same time. It's a great thing. But, one of the questions that this year there was a Brown that I was interested in as tight end Harold Fannin. But we were able to get him late, as I recall. But the rest of the roster, I am an innocent bystander from a purview that is way, way far away. And with some curiosity, I have one question. What in the hell are you guys going to do with David Njoku this weekend?
Man.
So Balky wants 2 tight ends in his lineup.
Yeah. Hey, we'll rock 3 tight ends. It could be tough sledding in the FFPC some weeks if you have injuries and bye weeks.
I think it's tough sledding if you've got Njoku. Am I right or wrong?
You're right. I would say so. We have Njoku in 3 different leagues, and this week we're sitting him in 2, and 1 we're playing him, but we're considering picking up the likes of Darnell Washington and Yoshivas to potentially start over him. So
what prompted you to draft a player that here in week 12 you're going to go to players who've lived on the waiver wire all year? I mean, he looks good getting off the bus. And Njoku looks like he should be the guy.
Well, it's a great question. Fantasy really is a 1 week at a time thing.
Yes,
at the time when we drafted, you got to think about it. We thought Joe Flacco could win some games and still be on the team and throw the ball a lot to David Njoku, but so much has changed. And I actually think David Njoku probably can get you a serviceable week this week.
Okay.
But there's major risks, and it's week 12 right now. I also think Yoshivas in that game environment is okay, and then Darnell Washington against the Bears is actually pretty good. So Alan, what do you think about Njoku?
I'm in agreement with my brother. So more of our drafting style is we're not out on any player at any cost. So when we were taking David Njoku, most of the time he was after ADP. So with that being said, we weren't like, man, we got to take him around early, right? And really we're like in on him. It was more of, he's better than this tier of player. We might as well take a shot, especially because of the value at tight end. So really, he's been a player that we've played in conjunction. I mean, Tom? One of the teams that we have him on, right, is a McBride team, correct? Team 10, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, we do like to double up on tight ends, but yeah, at the price it was good. I would just say if you drafted Njoku, Ingram, or Hawkinson, those teams are probably struggling pretty much anyway. So it's like, but Njoku, you could spot start him. But yeah, on one of our teams, we have McBride, Njoku, and Loveland, and Njoku and Loveland have been pretty much on our team, on our bench.
You've been playing with 18 players then.
Yeah, they've been pretty much on our bench.
20. But you guys are doing all right. Balky doesn't make up numbers. Balky, Balky gave you an introduction. He didn't make up any numbers.
Well,
guys, I should ask you this too. In regards, Tom, to this tight end question, if David Njoku and I'll be honest with you, I should have looked this up before the show started. I didn't. If Njoku did not practice today, if he does not play this week, how do you feel about Harold Fannin in your starting lineup, knowing that it's a good matchup against Las Vegas, but also knowing that it's not Dylan Gabriel, it's not Joe Flacco, it's not Deshaun Watson, it's not Bernie Kosar. It is Shadur Sanders throwing to him. Tom, how do you feel about Harold Fannin in that situation?
Well, I think if you have Harold Fannin, you play him. I would say only at this moment in time have I even gotten into the Shador Sanders conversation. So I actually feel very blessed that I haven't. Alan, when you have a team, you split up responsibilities. I gave Alan first take responsibility, so he's been watching that all week for us. So I haven't engaged with any of the Shador conversation. But against you drafted Harold Fannin, and he's probably either your starter or in the flex for you. So for 10 to 12 points, yeah, I think that's. I guess you have to have measured expectations of Harold Fannin if you're playing him. But you also have to understand that there's major risk when you're playing a Cleveland Brown in this match, because the Raiders D, especially at home, is pretty good. Like, I know we just saw them against Dallas and that wasn't great, but I think Dallas's offense is excellent. And that was a terrible game plan by the Raiders.
Mhm.
So I just think if you're playing a Brown, you have to just understand that there's institutional risk by playing any sort of Brown with Shador Sanders. I mean, but there's
the way,
upside, I guess, too. I guess.
I'm just telling you right now, Tom, one of my fantasy football team names next year will be Institutional Risk.
Institutional Risk is a very good game. And I don't think, Balky, I don't know how many shows we've done. I know you have the count and I know you have the real numbers, but I don't think we've ever heard that Raiders defense is really good at home.
Ferrell, you listen. Okay, hold on. I'm going to do this right now. Ferrell knows what I'm doing, guys.
You need to put that on.
That's
a celebratory moment.
Okay, so I got the Raiders chain on. Telling you right now, I have Brock Bowers going in a couple leagues. I am not ashamed to admit that I have Trey Tucker going in a few leagues.
Sure.
Ashton Genty, yes, as well. And Ferrell, my defense du jour this week, and I picked them up in probably about 3 or 4 leagues.
Tell us, sir.
The Las Vegas Raiders, baby. I'm rolling with them in the KFFSC playoffs and some of my other private dynasty leagues against the Cleveland Browns this week. Could I be wrong? Probably not, because I'm rarely wrong. Is it possible? 100% it's possible I'm wrong, and the Raiders give up, 30-some points to Raiders this week.
I'll tell you, last time Cleveland was in Las Vegas, Las Vegas was successful against the Browns. The game script went in much of the way that the brothers expect here. And I enjoyed being in the crowd, sitting next to one Dizzle while watching the game. So, it doesn't get any better than that.
It's my recollection that the last time Cleveland was in Las Vegas, it was the Indians celebrating a 1940 World Series championship with Frank Sinatra, Sammy Davis Jr., and the like out at the Desert Inn. That's the last time I remember the Browns in the Clevelanders back in Las Vegas.
There is so many factual things wrong with that statement, Balky, that you're
really. Yeah,
is really. Yeah, why don't you move on back to fantasy?
Memory's a little fuzzy. Okay, let's move on. I want to talk about the Giants-Lions game here, Alan, with you. You look at the Giants' rush defense this year; it's been abysmal. They played the Green Bay Packers last week. Josh Jacobs looked like he was off and running, pun intended, in this game, and then he got hurt. Emmanuel Wilson filled in, I don't want to say admirably, but decently. Chris Brooks really did not get in the game, and the Packers never really got the ground game going. Now, the Giants, instead of playing at home against the Packers, have to go to Detroit to face the Lions, who are ultra awesome, especially Jared Goff, in domes, which is where they're playing this weekend. You're not watching this show to find out whether you should be playing Jahmyr Gibbs. Yes, you should be playing Jahmyr Gibbs. The question here, Alan, is David Montgomery. How much of a must start is he against this horrid Giants rush defense this week? Is it going to be a Montgomery week, or is this going to be one of those weeks where we're scratching our heads on Sunday night saying, how the hell did he get 15 carries and only got 40 yards and no touchdowns? I'm curious to what you think is going to happen to Montgomery against the Giants this weekend.
Yeah, no, I mean, my brother and I were discussing this before we got on air. I mean, Montgomery has to be in your RB2 flex conversation just because of not only bye weeks, but the strength of the matchup, right? He's been one of our best or most drafted running backs the whole offseason. He's one of our favorite players. I mean, in real football, he's just awesome, right? He's good in goal line. He's good in pass pro. He's good in short yardage. He really can, move the chains when the Lions really need like an impactful play, right? But since Dan Campbell has taken over the play calling, he's focused more on Gibbs and Jamison Williams and really is kind of like phased out a little bit of Montgomery and Amon-Ra St. Brown. So hopefully, after what he was doing against Philadelphia, which made no sense, and continuously going for it on fourth down and becoming predictable, that he wasn't going to just take the points and kick the field goal and keep putting the pressure on Philadelphia. Right. Maybe he learned a little bit from that experience compared to playing basically a lifeless Commanders 2 weeks ago, in Washington. So hopefully he gets back to really what Detroit is good at, which is running the ball, really putting all the pressure on the Giants with not only Montgomery, but also Jahmyr Gibbs, so that they really get back into form. Because really what's happened to Detroit, which is kind of surprising, is they've kind of fallen into the middle of the pack in the NFC because they've given away a couple games that they probably should have won based on just a little bit of coaching, changes that they probably should have made that would have been more effective. I don't know. That's really my take on it. David Montgomery, if he can't get you 12 to 15 points this week, it's probably not going to happen the rest of the year. So if you have him, play him. But I would hope that he gets back to form, which is that 12 to 15 point RB2 solid floor play that you're really looking for.
The banker has identified the institutional risk in the Dan Campbell bonds.
Of course.
The bonds, they're the grading of that has gone down. Okay. You guys are having a very successful year. And I know within the makeup of these teams are perhaps numerous Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Am I correct? Okay. Oh. Now, let's start with you first, Hal. Mm-hmm. There's situations in the running back room because you're obviously happy with third string Tucker, but you want Irving to come back. But if you got Tucker and you don't have Irving, that's a really big situation that you're sitting on this weekend. Now you've got Godwin coming back too. Tez Johnson may be a late pickup. You thought you had things worked out. Then Evans got hurt. What are you doing with all of this Tampa Bay personnel and trying to figure out who you're going to put on the field with this team? And, of course, the big question is, you've got at this point in time, you've got to have 20 or so plus points from Baker Mayfield. It's the Rams this weekend, Alan. It's the Rams this weekend. Do you get them? Do you get those points?
I would hope you do with Baker because, again, I think the game environment would hopefully push him. The Rams defense, though, is quite good. Yes. If they can really get after him and sack him, he's going to have a tough day, right? Mm-hmm. But again, if Ibuka and Godwin can come or get back into form, really the Buccaneers can keep up with the Rams. I mean, it's really a must-win for the Bucs to really keep pace because I really think the Carolina Panthers are coming for them in the South. With that being said, the Sean Tucker situation, I mean, you got to play it till it dies, right? I mean, last week against Buffalo, it really was a dream matchup. I mean, my brother and I were coming up with many combinations around that game, just standard DFS as well. To not that it's relevant to this commentary, but with that being said, we were really high on that game, right? Just in general, and that game delivered, right? You got 6 touchdowns out of Josh Allen, and you got 4 or 5 touchdowns out of the Bucs combined with basically what had happened. So Sean Tucker, really good player. My brother and I, we have about 10 teams with Bucky Irving. So we're hopeful that he can come back. But really,
guys,
that's pretty much it. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I get it. And a good answer on that, obviously. I'm looking for some more good answers for you here as I take a sip of my coffee here tonight. In my institutional risk coffee mug, just for
nice.
Who is listening on audio tonight as opposed to video. Fantasy Meatball. This is our buddy Michael Kenzel on YouTube hanging out with us. Let's go to a non-tight end premium format here, guys, tonight. Tommy, I'm going to throw this to you first. Darnell Washington or TJ Hawkinson, who is the better start? Again, non-tight end premium, which, Michael, I'll be honest with you, I feel a little bit guilty, even asking a non-tight end premium question on the show tonight, but I'll do it because we love you. TJ Hawkinson in Lambeau Field to take on the Green Bay Packers. Darnell Washington, all 311 pounds of him, in Chicago to take on the Bears. Tommy, who do you like better in a non-tight end premium but full PPR format this week?
I'll just say, the mighty have fallen. What kind of question are we in? The saddest thing is it's Darnell Washington, right? How could you ever start TJ Hawkinson with any? Now, Hawkinson might do it. How could you start him with any confidence right now against Green Bay? And the thing is, the Darnell Washington is a ridiculous player, but Arthur Smith is going to get the most out of him, and the Bears are susceptible because their linebackers are injured right now. So you can get them over in the middle. They're bad against the run and against tight ends. So Darnell Washington's, as ridiculous as it sounds, is sneaky this week, and this, Eric and Ferrell, we're not going to say anything that we're not actually doing ourselves. We have Darnell Washington potentially going in a league or two. So I'm not just saying that to just say
you're sharing your level of disgust with us.
Yeah, it's like the waivers at this time of year is grim, but
I've seen
Hawkinson is a tough click right now. And I love TJ Hawkinson. He's a good player, but that offense has been brutal. So good luck, my man. You're going to be playing our Chicago Bears. I hope Darnell Washington does it for you, but not too much. Not too much.
Not too much.
Yeah.
Alan, let me throw this one to you. This is our good buddy from Kentucky, Jimmy Williams, chiming in. Jimmy Williams, by the way, just like you guys, noted Bears fan extraordinaire. But
Bears and Cubs.
Bears and Cubs, absolutely. He has an Arizona Cardinals question here. Comments on what Michael Wilson looks like this week. Alan, I'll throw this to you.
I missed it. I missed it last week. So my brother and I we were in on this all week last week, and we were we couldn't believe how much hype there was around Michael Wilson. Again, the guy had 289 yards career up until a 180-yard performance. Again, this year has had two miraculous wide receiver threes that basically broke out in 1 week, right? You had Kendrick Bourne that looked like Justin Jefferson against the Rams, and then you had Michael Wilson last week. What was it? Jamar Chase-esque, right? Almost 20 targets. Slant after slant. I was watching the game. My brother knows. I was sitting there watching this. I said, how many slants is this guy going to catch? It was absurd. But I think it continues against the Jaguars because, again, the Jags can get a little bit of a pass rush, but I think the Cardinals just want to play this way. They want to be down 14-0, within 3 minutes from the start of the game, and then we're just looking like we're going through the motions and just racking up yards after yards, but it's not serious stuff. So, it's funny because I think Michael Wilson, if you have it, you have to play it until it dies. But I do think it's going to be good this week. Now, do I think he's going to have 30 fantasy points like he did last week? No, but 12 to 15 points, flexible, wide receiver 2, 3, and a spot start in a team with a lot of bye weeks that need to get to survive. Yeah, I think you have to play it.
How many bye teams we have this week, Balky?
We have 4 teams on bye this week.
Thank you, Balky.
Yeah,
guys, I'm going to come with a question, very important question, especially back here in Kentucky, where teams often seem to roster Indianapolis Colts quite often. And, last week we had an email towards the end. The guy was saying, do I bite the bullet and play Franklin from Denver? And I said, you're not biting any bullets. Excellent player. And then I sat on the edge of my seat, not because Franklin's on my own team, but because I hope we didn't give that guy bad advice. Franklin ended up at 12.8. So, I guess we can live with that. So here's something that I want to ask you. Josh Downs. This is lately, he's had a couple 16-point games. He's also turned in close to a goose egg. And, that was relevant last week for most of the Indianapolis receiver core. 5 games in single digits for Downs. Now, he does have the Kansas City Chiefs, which a lot of people will tell you has a good pass defense.
Mm-hmm.
And I would like to say they had a good pass defense. Last 3 games, they've given up 250 air yards. And, Downs has the career-blessed privilege of playing opposite Michael Pittman, which is always a boost to anyone's career. So what would you do with Downs? And Balky is real good at this, at asking you some players that you might play Downs over if you're going to play him at all. Is Downs a player that you have rostered? And is he strong enough to be your man against the Kansas City Chiefs' weakening pass defense?
Yes. Let's get some Downs going this week.
Good.
I almost say that with too much confidence, but Casey struggles against slot corners, and I mean, this is not a great play. He's only playing 55% of snaps, and he hasn't had over 60 yards in any game this year. But that's the fantasy analyst side of things. When we're in week 12 of FFPC, and like I said, we got Josh Downs going in a couple leagues because we have guys that are injured, and there's he's a good spot start. The game has a 50.5 total. The team is 23.5. I just think the NFL games can go any which way, but the game projects the Colts to be down, right? They're 3.5 point underdogs. So there's a scenario where they're passing their way back, and you're getting some dump offs from Josh Downs. I think he's a fine spot start. Now,
I like that. Now, Balky, do you recall this correctly, like I do, or maybe it just hit me differently than it would you? Back when we had the Pros versus Joes, and you guys are familiar with that tournament, Pros versus Joes, we had some people, not these people, because this is our core group. We had some comments that were saying things like Josh Downs would be wonderful season, supplanting Pittman. I've always thought he was the Indianapolis version of Wan'Dale Robinson, but they're not playing as behind as much, so he does. Did you remember it that way?
I don't not remember it that way. I think you probably remember it better than me, but I will say that as far as what you just said about Downs, I have heard these things before from many high stakes players, many fantasy football pundits out there for sure. And I will say this, and Ferrell, you may not want to hear this, but your cousin, intelligent and attractive and lovely,
Miss Perez,
fantasy football genius, Stacey Perez, was on the FFPC Insider Access show last night, and she was praising Josh Downs for a good 90 seconds on there. And I made mention, I'm like, Ferrell, if he was hearing this, would be all in an uproar that you were not praising Michael Pittman. And she said, listen, when we go to the family reunion this year, I'm going to set the record straight on Josh Downs versus Michael Pittman.
Yeah.
So there could be something brewing there. I'm not sure. But as far as Downs this week against the Chiefs, I think you guys make some good points. As far as the defense that they're going up against, the fact that Michael Pittman has been healthy this year, I think this is all worthwhile to bring up when you are considering what to do with your wide receiver 3 or one of your flex spots in the FFPC. Guys, I have to go back here in the YouTube chat because we got a lot of good questions here tonight. Let's go to, and Alan, I'm going to throw this to you right away. Tom Smith right here, our good buddy Finn's fan. Quarterback question here this week. He wants to know, should he be starting Dak Prescott this week? Dak Prescott, who is at home against the Philadelphia Eagles, or Baker Mayfield, who is on the road at the Los Angeles Rams. Alan Dee, how do you fall in on this?
I'm going to go a little spicy on this one. I think Dak is the pick. I do. I think Dallas is coming. I told my brother that once they made that trade for Quinnen Williams and they looked so bad against the Cardinals, but they were still putting up points on offense, and then they just there's a path for them if they really win this game. And Dak looked great in the first week against Philadelphia. Like Dallas should have won that game, but they didn't. So I think Dallas, if they really put it all together, can really push Philadelphia, and it should be Dak Prescott that could potentially win the game. Now, again, Baker versus the Rams, it's a great matchup too, but that's because if you think that the Bucs offensive line is going to basically stop that Rams pass rush. So, like I said, I think the more of an upside spicier play would be Dak. More of the floor play would be Baker. But I really do think Dak Prescott's going to be good this week.
Yeah, I'm 100% in agreement with you on Alan. Alan. I think Prescott's the play. And as far as your ceiling floor analysis goes, I am less likely to agree with you on that. But I still think I would in that scenario when it comes to those two. I'm going to throw this to your brother Tom here on this one. Michael Kenzel, the fantasy meatball, another Baker Mayfield quarterback question. Who would you be starting this week, Tom? Would it be Baker Mayfield at Los Angeles, or would it be the record-setting Jacoby Brissett, who is taking on the Jacksonville Jaguars this week? Just found out before I went on the air, shortly before we went on the air tonight, guys. Canton, Ohio now features the jersey that Brissett wore in that game, where he threw 47 completions, 47 out of 57 against San Francisco. So, Tom, I'm going to put it to you this way, and I don't think I'm phrasing this improperly. Would you start the former number one overall pick Baker Mayfield against the Rams, or would you start NFL Pro Football Hall of Famer Jacoby Brissett, against the Jacksonville Jaguars this week? Who's the better start, my friend?
You gotta make a trip down to Canton and join Brissett. You gotta. It's so ridiculous. This year we've had these teams that are just so bad, but they're good at fantasy, and the Cardinals are one of them. Like it was the Bengals. It probably still is the Bengals. Well, it was the Cowboys at first, and then it was the Bengals, and now we're on the Cardinals side, and you just got to ride it right now. Baker could outscore him because that game could get really wacky, and I've seen I always watch the 3:00 slates for some reason. I'm always watching bad Cardinals games at 3:00. So that game could be 9-3 and everyone's upset, and like all the chalk and DFS, the people are losing their mind. But you got to just ride Brissett. It's one of those things. He's hot. He's rolling the dice at the roulette table. You got to just go with the guy. It's like I'm riding this guy till he shows me he can't. So
rolling the dice at the roulette table. You're going to have to spend a little time with me in Las Vegas.
Maybe I use
because we're going to have to get you. You may get thrown out of some casinos.
Yeah.
Okay. But we'll
My brother plays cards. He's better at cards.
Give you a pass.
You understood what I meant, though. But you got to just ride it. You got to ride the.
You just ride it. I think you better ride it with Dak Prescott. That's all I'm saying.
That's Ferrell, before you ask your next question here, I want to throw this back to Tom here. Another question that we have from our good buddy Ray C on YouTube.
All right.
Running back question this week.
Damn good question too.
We have Quinshon Judkins going up against the Las Vegas Raiders. So would you be playing Quinshon Judkins over one Alvin Kamara, who is in the Big Easy at home against the Dirty Birds of Atlanta, taking on the Falcons? Who is it, Kamara or is it Judkins this week for you, Tom?
Well, this is like a spoiler. The guy already knew because my sleeper of the week was Alvin
Kamara.
I'm not swearing on the screen, but Alvin Alvin Kamara. So, little stat for you: Atlanta gives up the 5th most points to running backs, and before the bye, Alvin Kamara had 22 carries and 3 receptions for 116 yards. And I love Kamara with the Saints D. That's my sleeper picks for the week. If people are looking for a defense, I love the Saints, and I love Kamara. It's been brutal. Like if you drafted him in the 4th round, we drafted him, but if you're looking for 14 boring points, Alvin Kamara is going to give it to you. Judkins is upside, right? If we tried to pair Judkins with the Cleveland D this week, we tried to. Someone picked up the D over it.
The audacity.
But yes, but the Raiders D could come for him. I'm going old and boring. You guys could have young and exciting. I'm going old, boring Alvin Kamara this week.
Balky, and that is the best answer that we've ever got to my final question. And I didn't even get to ask the question. The guy that was on here last week refused to answer it. That was
yeah.
He just refused it. He just refused it. That is so good. You have we give out trophies in the KFFSC. We're going to have one, and we're going to invite you to come down here and play. And before you ever play your first team, you're going to win a trophy for the best question, for the best answer on the sleeper question that we ever have. On this. Great job.
Yes.
Great job. You both get a trophy.
Yeah.
Balky,
My brother
what's
earned it.
your
My
next
brother earned it. I'm just looking pretty.
All right. So I have to ask MLU7X on YouTube. I have to ask his question because he's posted it
that's a
4
good one
times.
too.
So we have to answer this. I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, ML, I think he asked this same question with me and Stacy Perez last night on the FFPC Insider Access show. So we'll try to answer it here. Alan, I'll let you go first, but Tommy, I want you to weigh in on this as well. Travis Etienne or Bashal Tutin this week. Now, he's in an FFPC main event league. He's it's like a 50-50 shot as far as the projected scores go. So it's not like he's a big underdog or a big favorite as well. But if he wins, he gets the number 1 seed, which is obviously very lucrative in the FFPC main event. He says, Alan, he's leaning Travis Etienne at this point. But if he would start Bashal Tutin over Etienne, is that getting too cute? And just so everybody's aware, these players are both in Arizona against the Cardinals this week.
I think this question is a little bit more nuanced.
Mm-hmm.
Who does he have as his flex plays? Because if it were me, I want to play both, right? I want to get as much Jags running game as I can. And really, I think, again, because you saw with ETN last week, Tutin did he got injured, right, against the Chargers. So it kind of neutralized him a little bit. But it was just that whole Jags running game that was just gashing them on the ground. So I want to get as much opportunity from that running game against a bad Cardinals run defense. That Christian McCaffrey, I mean, he barely even played in the game and went absolutely bonkers. So pretty much that's my answer, but I'm going to let my brother, kind of chime in as well.
Tommy posted this in here. He's got Woody Marks at running back as well. His flex is Ted Aroa, McMillan, and Michael Wilson. And then his 2 wide receivers are Chris Olave and Rashee Rice. So he's starting 4 wide receivers. Woody Marks is his, running back that he's already got in there since he played last night. So it's a question of would you play both of these running backs for Jacksonville, or would you sit one of them in favor of McMillan, Wilson, Olave, and Rice? This is tough.
Yeah.
Yeah. First, I want to say congrats to this guy. Getting to that stage in the main event is really hard. So, we did our first main event this year. We're not going to make the mini tournament, but congrats to this guy for even being there. That's excellent. If he wants ship chasing points, he'll start Tutin. If he wants to actually win, he'll start Travis Etienne.
There you go.
So
that's how I like that answer too. I like an answer phrase like that. Yeah, but Jimmy Williams agreed with you guys at the end, but why not both? And it's a situation that, if you agree with Jimmy Williams when you come to Kentucky, it means you're already on the right path to mini. We were very on the right path.
Tom Smith chiming in, Ferrell. Team names next year are going to be old and boring. I love it.
Yeah, well, Tom, you can do better.
I don't know if he could. That's a pretty
He can.
I like it. What else do we have here in the let's see here. We answered the Kamara Judkins question. Okay, I think we can move on. Yeah, let's move on here. And I apologize if we did not answer your question. Post it again in the YouTube chat, and we'll be we'll get to it. All right, Alan, let's throw this to you. Bye weeks are not over with completely yet, but they're coming to a close. I have heard a lot of people answer this question a lot of different ways. Some people like the 1 defense, some people like the 2 defenses, some people like 3, and some of the sickos out there will roster 4 defenses on or their main event teams. When the bye weeks come to an end, assuming you make the championship sprint in the Big Gorilla, which it looks like you're on pace for, Alan, how many defenses do you like to keep on this team?
Yeah, so I think this is a position, again, my brother and I were discussing it before we came on air. We try to get an edge with defense kicker all the time, right? These get overlooked. I think by a lot of players, they think you just really can punt those positions. But I mean, points are points. Brandon Aubrey can get you 25 in a week, right? Like he's a difference maker. So my brother and I have always, throughout the season, are always either trying to carry at least one extra defense to not only look ahead based off of schedule, but also look at the defenses that are doing really good throughout the year, right? Like if somebody drops Seattle, like we want to get in and try to pick them up because it's going to be a very high floor play with a good ceiling from a week to week perspective. So we really try to get into the defense market. I mean, we spent a lot of fab on it throughout the season, but it's really to try to set us up to give us edges. Like when you're going into the sprint, right? You might want a defense that has some pretty soft matchups first and might be less played against the field, right? The people that played Houston yesterday got a huge edge on the field, right? It wasn't the greatest matchup, but it totally worked. And Houston's just a strong unit going forward. They might not have the best matchups going up, going forward, like Colts and some of these other teams that they have to play that are pretty strong on offense. But if you get the right scenario for them, they're really they're really strong and they're elite and can get turnover, sacks, and the kinds of production that you're looking at for the position. So, I mean, my brother and I, we took chances on even playing bad defenses early, right? We took Miami one week just because we thought the matchup was good enough. We hit par with it, but we were hoping to actually get a better than average production out of it. But it was just a play against the field, right? Because if, let's say, the field only plays 1 to 2% Miami, and Miami gets to 12 to 15 points, right? You can get an edge that week, whereas let's say the rest of the field was playing just something common, like a Green Bay, and gets to like 4, right?
Okay, that's a 500 level finance course coming right at you right there.
Yeah, I'm like my head is swimming.
That's what's coming at you right there. Balky, I think I'm going to put in a production note mid-show because we're getting long on time and we've got the quick hitters of fantasy feedback that you usually do with me. Why don't you do it with all 3 of us tonight?
All right,
let's do it.
So we will do that. And the first one I'm going to lead off with not an email, but a YouTube question from Tom Smith. Tom, you lead this off tonight. How about the Miami Dolphins defense and special teams versus the Saints in not in week 12, but in week 13? Tom, how do you feel about the Dolphins defense next week?
No.
I don't like
he doesn't like them. Farrell doesn't like them. Alan, any pushback on that?
No. Miami's no.
Rethink that. Go back to the drawing board.
Okay.
Shaw's coming.
Yeah.
Alan, I'll throw this to you right away. This is Art and Raleigh email tonight. I have 2 emails tonight for you guys. Hello, Team D's. How concerned should I be about the inconsistency of Rome Odunze lately? This is a good question. Art and Raleigh, North Carolina. Listen, I bought into him in Dynasty. I bought into him in Redraft. And over the course of the last month, Alan, I've been underwhelmed. Is that going to continue? What's going on with Odunze?
I think you're gonna have to play him, but he is the definition of a boom bust player right now. Because again, the Bears' passing attack is not strong, right? The Bears have been focused heavily on running the ball, and if they're not going to try to just force targets to Odunze to really get him going, I don't know. Like some weeks he has a lot of targets and he does something with them, but other weeks he's completely dust. So you kind of, I think, just have to put him in the wide receiver 3 flex conversation. And you kind of got to live with it in that tier. That's really my take on it.
What about you, Tom? How do you feel about this?
He's the definition of a 3. So like if you're going to the Spider-Man, you don't want Rome and AJ Brown and DK Metcalf in your lineup. but he's perfect if you have Wandale and Josh Downs in your lineup. You know, you just get the high floor with the high variant guy, and it's maybe my Bears homer, and some Bears are coming. Bears are coming.
You should have known you were going to be asking this
bear
question
down.
back when you drafted this player. That was my response to this email.
Well, that's a good point.
It's true. Ferrell, I'll throw this one to you right away, and then I'll let Alan chime in, and then Tom. Baker Mayfield or Brock Purdy? Jay Simpson, 29, has Emeka Egbuka, and he is starting him. He also has Jennings. Can't decide to play Jennings over Genty since he is going against the Cleveland Browns. Could stack Baker and Egbuka or Purdy and Jennings. This is an interesting one, Ferrell. When you look at everything that Jay Simpson, 29, is presenting us tonight, there's a lot that goes into this as far as team stacking goes. What would you do here at wide receiver and quarterback?
I like the way he comes in with the question. I'm going to get Jennings in because I think this guy needs big points, and that's what Jennings can deliver. And so despite, you know, I watched some film last week of him continuing to win those 50-50 balls, and I think that's what the quarterback is going to bring to it. In deference to the golden age of football in Los Angeles and our guest tonight from the City of Angels, I am going to say play Purdy and bench Baker against that tough Rams defense.
Alan, how do you feel about this? Is it Jennings and Purdy? Would you go Egbuka and Purdy? How would you feel about this?
Yeah, no, I think Ferrell's spot on. I really want to play Purdy. I want to play 49ers offense as much as I have to because the defense stinks, right? Like 49ers are going to win games because of their off. I mean, they proved it last week, right? Jacoby Brissett, career, historic performance, right, against that 49ers defense. So any way the 49ers are going to make the playoffs is going to rely heavily on that offense just cranking on all cylinders. So I know Ibuka has, that wide receiver one profile right now. Like people are really buying into potentially that being the breakout and he being that. But I really want to get anything with the 49ers as long as it's going to be like this, because I really think they're going to be playing in the 30s pretty much every week going forward.
Tom, your brother is very bullish on the Niners here. How do you feel about this discussion when we bring in Mayfield, Egbuka, Jennings, and Purdy into the conversation?
I'll say Jay Simpson, just wait. Wait to see what your team needs to about 6 o'clock on Sunday. If you need more upside, rock Baker and Egbuka. Like if you're down in your match and you need to really catch up, that's what I would suggest. If you need safe floor, go Purdy and Jennings. Actually, no, because you could play Purdy and Egbuka, right?
If you could.
Yeah, probably just Purdy and Egbuka. But if you need some upside, doing Baker and Egbuka, because sometimes we're down against somebody and it's we're probably going to lose anyway. Let's take more of an upside swing. And sometimes you pull a victory out of it because football is a strange sport, man. Like Baker and Egbuka could go off. So I would just say wait till you don't have enough information yet to make this fully, I would say.
You're going to take one of each. It's hard to put Egbuka on the bench. What I love about Jennings, if you look at his game logs from previous years and somewhat from this year, those big games are there. And then there's a lot of games that are,
Tom does bring up a great point, though. This is the Sunday night and the Monday night game. So you will know how you stand as far as, trying to make it to the main event, advancing in the main event playoffs or what have you. So this may be a decision, one of these rare decisions that you can make on Sunday evening rather than Sunday morning. Okay, let's go to one more email here. Tom, I think I'm going to throw this to you right away. This comes from Brad in Eagleville, Pennsylvania. Tom, how close to a league winner will Coastal Loveland be this season? Thanks, guys. That is Brad in Eagleville, PA. Loveland has been coming on. Cole Kmet is healthy, which I think is more of a detriment to Loveland here. But Tom and Alan, I'll let you weigh in on this as well. But Tom, what do you think about Loveland as a potential league winner in 2025?
It's one of my favorite players. It was somebody that I continuously drafted over and over again, but probably one of my worst picks of the year. I would love for him to be the breakout. I would love for it. But Cole Kmet is not going anywhere. So I hope I hope the answer is he breaks out because he's awesome. He's a great player, and that's the only way the Bears are going to get anywhere is if these young players really break out. But I don't think that that's what Ben Johnson wants to do. He wants to run the ball. He wants to use Cole Kmet and DJ Moore. Pretty much, he wants to do everything that the fantasy community doesn't want him to do, right? Like, so the fantasy community wants Luther Burden to just take over DJ Moore and wants Colston Loveland, but Ben Johnson wants to win football games.
Remember the preseason excitement from all the fantasy players, Detroit South, tons of points. Just remember that. I'll show you.
And it was a case of everything that was going in Chicago's direction, right? They had this guy in DJ Moore who they re-upped, right, and signed. They had Roma Dunze, who they just drafted in the first round. Caleb Williams, who was the number 1 overall pick. Ben Johnson, who put up, 50, 60, 70, 180 points a game in Detroit. So and then Colston Loveland and Luther Burden, who they drafted in the first and second round, respectively. So there was a lot of positive momentum going into all these players. And I'll say this, guys, as much as we say like that didn't meet the hype, Bears are in first place in one of the toughest events in professional football right now. So I think they're doing at least something right there for sure.
They are.
Alan, Colston Loveland, league winner. Your brother is.
I'm with my brother on it. I mean, we both, I mean, consensus, we were building a lot of teams where we had other tight ends around him. I mean, we really weren't using him as like the anchor and a lot of our builds, but we were really hoping that he was breaking out and could become like the Brock Bowers of last year when we were drafting, right? And really, he's a situational player, right? I mean, he's caught a couple fluky again, you want to play any players against the Bengals, as far as I'm concerned. Like, get your guys in against them, because really, you might as well take a shot on anybody, right, who's playing them, because anybody could break out. But really, Colston Loveland, besides in the Bengals game, has kind of been just like an afterthought. And it's fine. Hopefully he does provide some support for a lot of the people that drafted him, if your teams are still moving on that have him. But yeah, that's kind of really that's really my take on it. I mean, I just think he's kind of just an okay player, and this might not be the breakout year for him. Maybe it's next year, but I don't see it coming.
Fellas, Balky always says, after you win that $1 million, we're going to have you back to talk about it. Well, and you can tell us what you're going to do with that $1 million. I think that would be our biggest show in history, Balky, is to hear the banker say where it's going to go and hear the labeler say, this is a tag we're going to put on it. I just think it'll be great. This the chat room loves you. We got to get you guys back on the show.
Well, all you guys
looking forward to it.
All you got to do is win the $1 million, and
that's it.
Yeah. Well, easy. We got it in the bag, right?
Yeah. If you don't win, it's probably because you didn't want to bother with the tax issues.
The real prize would be getting to come back on the show, right? It's like the $1 million is great, but round 2 with Eric and Ferrell and now and the Colston Loveland breakout. I mean, like, now we're living in a dream.
He can catch 4 passes, and that'd be a breakout for him.
If we can get the Luke Musgrave breakout with it, now you're talking.
Now we're dreaming.
I'm going to leave it. Ferrell's going to ask you one final question in a second.
I am?
As the resident, yes, you are. As the resident defender of the Green Bay Packers on this show, I will say that on Monday morning, when Matt LaFleur was asked about Luke Musgrave, he repeatedly said, we need to get him involved more. We need to get him out on the field more. We need to get him more snaps, and I will have a conversation with our staff about that. So listen, maybe that means nothing, but I'm just going to say this. If Luke Musgrave somehow ends up with 7 for 70 against the Vikings this week, you were warned by one Eric Balkman and one Matt LaFleur this week. I don't think it's going to happen, but that'll be the explanation if we see Musgrave out there quite a bit. Take it for what it is. Okay, Ferrell. final question.
Well, we've already had the sleeper part answered. So the final question is a truncated version about the player. I want you to tell me who is this week's Justin Herbert. He put up 5.5 points for me. Now, I want to know who that player is that people are going to depend on, but you guys can already tell us they shouldn't. They shouldn't play this player this week because no one can see the train wreck, but you guys can already hear the wheels screeching across the rails.
Well, people probably can see it. We'll just say one spicy person that we're considering sitting is Justin Jefferson. So
okay, now that's ballsy, Bonky.
And you guys brought up another one. We're considering sitting Roma Dunze too. So both of those guys, it really depends on who you have. But at this time of year, you could have definitely had Emmanuel Wilson or Sean Tucker on your bench. And those are just better starts at this point in time. So our spicy take is sitting Justin Jefferson in Lambeau Field, where he has struggled before. So that's our spicy take.
I would say this, like, in regards to the Jefferson thing. Number one, I love the boldness on the call. Number two, in the past when Jefferson has struggled, it's usually been because of a really good corner like Jair Alexander in the past, and the Packers don't have that this year. However, they have not had a pass rush like they have had this year, and the Vikings have had better quarterbacks than J.J. McCarthy making his 6th overall start. So there is something to be considered in regards to Jefferson for that as well. So, Alan, I think great points there on that for sure.
Yeah, no, I mean, again, my brother and I, we were really thinking about this before we came on air, and Jefferson was the player that we thought was like, a top tier guy that if he has a bad game, we're not going to be surprised. It really comes down to the quarterback play. It's so uneven with McCarthy. So, I mean, it really comes down to, and really, this is an important game for Green Bay. They can't keep losing pace, especially if they somehow lose this game to Minnesota and then somehow lose to Detroit on Thanksgiving. They're in dire straits in that division. So, yeah.
Tom, what about you? How would you weigh in on both parts of this question?
Which side of it?
Whichever side. If there's somebody that you think that FFPC players need to be thinking hard about besides Justin Jefferson, benching, and then as well as a player that, and I think everybody's looking for a player this week. Ferrell kind of alluded to it as well. Everybody's looking for that sleeper that's going to help them get, into the playoffs, advancing to the playoffs, getting them higher up on the leaderboard. There's a lot of different ways to go.
All right. I got a bunch of sleepers for you, but
he can't overcome the sleeper he's already given.
Yeah, I got to give you
that's
Kamara.
true. I get that. Yeah,
I gave you the Kamara. Depends on what you have, but I think Genty, you could potentially sit Genty in this matchup, even though he projects really well. I was going to say this about the Jennings thing. If you're a volume drafter, and this is just to your audience, like for us, this is just a suggestion, but find somebody that you really like their projections, and it'll help you with these decisions. Because sometimes these, like, when we're making a line of decisions, we're like, what's the projection, right? Like, but because you could potentially sit Genty, but he projects pretty well this week. So that's here nor there. A couple sleepers. I think Gesicki is probably in the waivers, and people forget what he is. He's also 2,600 in DFS for anybody out there in DFS. My main man, Darius Slayton against the Lions with Jameis Winston is that's a bold wide receiver 3 that could get you 2 points, but also could get you 24 in a pinch. I don't want to take up all the sleepers, but
well, just real quick
Bryce Young
on Gesicki, just real quick. If you think about the games if you look back on the games that Chase has missed over the years, it's not necessarily been Yoshibas and Higgins. It's been Mike Gesicki, who just got activated, in his, and like, we'll see if he's activated for the game, but he's been activated off IR. And I think he is a very intriguing guy in tight end premium leagues like the FFPC. So when you look back or when you're watching our show next Friday, and say, oh, I can't believe Gesicki got 6 for 80 and a touchdown. You heard it here first, from Tommy D and to a lesser point, Eric Balkman. I like Gesicki this week as well.
And he is he's largely a slot receiver. So coming back from injury,
basically
he doesn't have to do what a tight end does, across most of the league. He's not a Ferguson, he's not a Goddard, he's certainly not a Kittle.
I was going to say real quick, Tommy and I were talking earlier, and we both liked Leggett and Jacoby Myers this week.
Okay, so I get the Myers aspect. What is it about Leggett that has you intrigued in week 12?
Again, but it's 49ers defense. Again, the wide receiver 3, just he's going to scam, get all these little if he's doing the same thing as like a Michael Wilson and Bryce Young's just throwing these short passes to him. Because again, the Panthers were getting it going pretty good against a decent pass defense against Atlanta. This 49ers defense, I don't even know what it's going to be going into that game. So if it's the same kind of thing that the Carolina Panthers are moving the ball up and down the field, I just want to get pieces of the offense in a pinch, right? Like Leggett, if you really need a bye week filler spot start, could definitely be a wide receiver 3 flex that could just come in very cheap. That would be pretty effective, in my opinion.
Well, I am so honored. I'm so honored to hear this. Leggett is not a popular player on the show. However, it does have one fan in me. Remember the guest, our lovely guy down from Florida that we had, and you guys really pushed me in a corner on Leggett, and he came back that week and scored 24 points. So Leggett's my guy, and I do. There's no player that I would rather see on the post game podium than Leggett. So I'm right with you guys. That would be great.
Yeah, nothing like Xavier Leggett. Not only talking about how he gets open for game-winning touchdowns, but how he prepares his famous New Orleans gumbo, which I love. Equal points on that for sure. Guys, we have kept you way too long tonight.
No,
you've entertained us way too much. You have informed us way too much. And I wish you nothing but the best with your 3 teams in the top 100 of the FFPC Big Gorilla right now. And rest assured that if you guys do have one of those teams bring home that $1 million grand prize, you will have an easy ticket back onto this show coming up in late December, early January, whenever it is, to talk about how you guys got it done. Thank you so much for hopping aboard tonight. Not only do I wish you to enjoy week 12, but enjoy the remainder of the FFPC season. And don't be a stranger, or don't be strangers. We will talk with you again very soon.
Guys, thank you very much. Happy Thanksgiving.
You got it.
Rocky, with these guys, Kamara is going to match his jersey number in points.
Very well good. Very well good. Tommy and Alan Dee joining us tonight. The pride of Illinois / Southern California, popping on tonight, and owners of 3 of the top teams in the FFPC Big Gorilla Tournament. What a show it was! We answered a lot of starter sick questions tonight, so hopefully that helped you out. And Ferrell, we will be back doing this show, assuming you can, and I think you can, but maybe you can't. But we're still going to do a Black Friday show, so 1 week from today. Normal time, 10 p.m. Eastern time. You available for that? Can you hop aboard and hang out?
Balky, I'll do the damnedest best I can to be here.
If
you call, brother, I gotta be like Spider-Man. We gotta be like Spider-Man, pointing at each other.
And I'll say this real quick before I let you go. The KFFSC Big Super Sunday drafts, which are going off Saturday and Sunday of Super Bowl weekend 2026. Which we are roughly, I don't know, 2.5 months away from, maybe a little bit less.
75 something days.
Yeah. So I have confirmed I will be there this year for the first time. Going to be exciting. I plan on drafting all day Saturday, all day on Sunday for 2026 leagues. And then I will be partying with all the KFFSC players and the FFPC players that come out to Caesars, Southern Indiana. We rent out that private high rollers room or whatever to draft and hang out and watch the game. And I'm very excited for that. For more details and to register for leagues to compete against me and other viewers and listeners of this show, Ferrell, KFFSC.com. KFFSC.com is where to go, right?
Yes, sir. And it's right at the top. Sweet 16, Super Sunday Sweet 16. It's a $300 entry. It's limited to 96 teams, a $10,000 grand prize, and many other prizes. It's a great format. It's a great weekend. Our wonderful room that we have, the food and drinks, it's just wonderful. We'd love to have. We've got people coming in from all over the country, as well as a good group of local players. And yes, you can come play 1-2 teams. You can do like Balky and play in all 8 of those.
Yeah. I've been trying to do this for years, and finally my family and my schedule has cooperated so I can actually enjoy the Super Bowl with other like-minded fantasy footballers and drafting teams that weekend as well. Very excited for it. KFFSC.com. KFFSC.com is where to go. Ferrell, thanks so much for hanging out with me tonight. I won't talk to you again until after Thanksgiving, so I wish you and yours a very happy and prosperous Thanksgiving this coming week.
Much to be thankful for, Balky. Thank you.
You got it. That is Ferrell Elliott, the definitive commissioner of fantasy football, hanging out on the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour tonight. I want to thank Tom and Alan Dee for coming on the show tonight, Ferrell Elliott, and of course the FFPC, Rob, Bryce, and each and every one of you for listening, streaming, downloading, watching, however you consume this content. I am very grateful. We will be back next Friday, 10 p.m. Eastern time, with the history of fantasy sports author of that book, Larry Schechter, will be on the show next week. Very excited to find out how his FFPC teams are doing this year, and we'll get an inside look on how this great game that we have played for many, many years, and in some cases for many of you watching decades, how it came to be. Larry Schechter joins us on Black Friday. Next Friday night at 10 p.m. Eastern time. In case you missed the RotoViz High Stakes Lowdown, check it out anywhere you get your podcast, including the FFPC socials. We had 2021 FPC $500,000 champions Donnie Andrews and Brady David back on the show. If you remember, they were on 4 years ago after they won the the 500K in the Football Guys Players Championship. They were back this week because they have a top 40 team in the FFPC main event going for $1 million this year. What a story it would be if they were able to win both of those. Fascinating stuff. Had a great time with those guys. Check it out. And then next week at 10 p.m. Eastern time, we have week 11 FFPC main event, 21st place team owner Mark Davidson making his return to the RotoViz High Stakes Lowdown. Again, that is 10 p.m. Tuesday night. We will have that for you as well. In case you missed it, check out the Insider Access show for the FFPC on the Better Sports Network or any of the FFPC socials with one Fantasy and Frames, Player Profilers, and Dynasty Degens, Stacy Perez. She co-hosted with me for 2 full hours. It was so much fun. We learned a lot. We had a lot of laughs. Check it out. One of my favorite shows every year, talking with Stacy Perez. That can be seen anywhere on the FFPC socials or anywhere you get podcasts. And we will not have a show this coming Thursday because it's Thanksgiving. So I've moved the show up so you still enjoy the content. Monday, 7 p.m. Eastern time for 2 hours leading into that Niners-Panthers game on Monday Night Football. It's going to be 1 week seasons and Roto World's Mark Garcia, High-Low FF on X. Mark Garcia will join me for the full 2 hours on Monday night. That's going to be a blast as well. FFPC Weekly Challenge is live. No draft, no salary cap. Just pick 10 players or 12 players if you want to play with kickers and defenses over at myffpc.com. Win up to $2,500 this weekend. 10, 30, and 100 team contests. Only one player per NFL team. So if you want to have if you want to have on Drake May, you can't have Stephon Diggs. If you want to have Brock Purdy, you can't have George Kittle. MyFFPC.com, MyFFPC.com is where to go for that as well. Remember to like this video, subscribe to the channel, comment on the video, share it with your friends, share it with your enemies, and get notified each and every time we go live, which again will be Monday night, 7 p.m. Eastern time with Mark Garcia from Roto World and 1 week season on the FFPC Insider Access Show. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Really appreciate each and every one of you. Your weekend officially starts now.
This has been another episode of the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by myffpc.com. It was broadcast live and was watched around the world. Balky and Ferrell will be back next week with more analysis, more interviews, and more advice from guests much smarter than they are. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk with you again next week.
I just want to just real quick before we sign off the air tonight. I should have done this last week, and it slipped my mind, and I apologize for that. I don't always like to bring up bad news on the show, but sometimes we have to pay tribute to people who made the show possible, people who have made the FFPC possible. Found out last week or earlier last week that Jeff Antley, a longtime FFPC and KFFSC player, ended up passing away way too young. He was in his early 50s. Good friend of Tommy Heron, who you know, he's been on this show before. He's been on the road of his High Stakes Lowdown a couple of times as well. And Jeff and I had the opportunity to talk and catch up and hang out, talk fantasy football, talk life, both at Caesars Southern Indiana for the KFFSC, as well as out for the FFPC live events in Las Vegas. It's going to sound very generic here. And I didn't know Jeff all that well, but I knew him fairly well. And I will say, incredibly nice guy, so much fun to talk fantasy football with. I learned a lot about fantasy football in talking with him over the years, both in Louisville and Las Vegas. And I will definitely miss him when I go to Louisville, not only for the Super Bowl Sunday, but in August. And I'll miss him in Las Vegas. And I know the conversations that Tommy Heron and Jeff Antley and I had in between breaks at the KFFSC or in between drafts in Las Vegas, they won't be the same because Jeff won't be there. Very knowledgeable guy, very nice guy, and certainly lived life to the fullest. A big traveler. He went out and did everything he could to make sure that he didn't just exist. He didn't just survive. He lived his life. And I think that's the best compliment I can pay him. So rest in peace, Jeff Antley. We miss you, buddy. And we hope you're having a good time up there. Until next week, everybody, thanks so much for watching. And we will talk with you again on Monday.